Hulu's latest psychological horror, Control Freak, is crawling under everyone's skin. But is it worth your time? Control Freak follows Valerie Nguyen, a motivational speaker battling severe anxiety and hallucinations after her mother's death. As she becomes convinced that a parasitic entity from East Asian folklore is taking over her, the film delves into themes of mental illness, cultural identity, and the clash between personal and public personas. This is directed by Shal Ngo, starring Kelly Marie Tran, who I know from the Star Wars sequels that people threw a fit about, The Last Jedi, and a reduced role in The Rise of Skywalker. But she gives like a great performance. I think I've seen her in something else before, but yeah, I mean, I think this was a solid performance from her. She really carried this movie. And director Shal Ngo, who also wrote this screenplay, it's got some visual flair for it, especially for something that is like considered straight to streaming. So yeah, there was a lot of nice visual elements to the movie. Now, if you're one of those people who like always feel itchy or something, this is like a movie you will not be able to watch. I watched it with my wife. She couldn't even be in the same room when I was watching it. It's always the sound of something scratching at the back of her head. And it does have a little bit of that body horror element too, where she's basically scratching a fucking hole in her head. They rely on a lot of visual cues of seeing how she feels. Like you always see ants crawling on her or crawling around, crawling on other people. This is just how she feels. You know, she's trying to crawl out of her own skin. And go into the themes and writing. I mean, it's got like themes of mental illness and cultural identity. I mean, those are the core themes of the film. And I think I've said it before in other videos where it's like elevated horror. It's not really about the monster or the haunting or whatever. It's more about mental illness or past trauma or something like that. And I think it is just completely overplayed. And that's how I was feeling like the first half of this movie, because we saw a lot of the movie already, like the beats, the familiar beats of this. And I looked at the runtime and I only watched half an hour of this movie. I'm like, oh my God, how am I going to get through this? But it does add a couple of little twists here and there. One that she finds out about her past, that kind of helps it. And then it kind of goes all out at the end. I think the last part of it is good. There's one part where they just don't hold back, but they kind of retcon it at the very end, which did not make any fucking sense whatsoever. And I mean, the main thing is like this parasitic entity that is causing her this. Does that sound familiar? Does that sound like Smile and Smile 2? Of course, it's basically a Smile movie. Not as well made. I mean, I just said that the director of this has some visual flair, but Smile and Smile 2 are just another level. That's how high the bar is set for those movies. So to kind of have like this streaming version of Smile, but it does add a little bit of the cultural relevance since it's about Vietnamese Americans. And the entity is a part of Vietnamese folklore, which I am not Vietnamese. I don't know anything about it. I don't know how accurate it is, but I guess it does have that extra layer if you want to go there, but I don't think it did enough. I was so distracted because, I mean, I know it's not a board game channel or anything, but it did remind me of the intruders in the game Nemesis, which is basically Aliens, the board game, but they changed the aliens into intruders and they look differently, and this entity that it shows looks exactly like that. So it's like the knockoff version of a xenomorph, technically. As a straight to streaming horror movie, I think it's fine. There are a lot of things that didn't work for me. I think it's like the pacing, especially in the first half. just didn't work for me. I think it's adding a lot of these elements. It's basically a smile movie. They add these elements, but I don't think the whole thing gels. Like her boyfriend or husband in this is just, he like gives up on her so easily. And then he's supposed to be like the hero towards the end. I don't know, I just didn't buy it. I didn't really buy much of the other characters in it. I mean, it's just very one note with a lot of the characters. I mean, it is Kelly Marie Tran's movie. I mean, that's what it is. So I can't get this much more than like 2.5 stars. I'm just like really middle of the road in it. I mean, her performance is really good in it. It's got some visual flair. It's got some shocking moments, I guess, but nothing really stands out. Like I said, it's basically a smile movie with some Vietnamese folklore in it. I get kind of tired of these movies where this person's like haunted or whatever, and they look insane to everybody else. It's like the same thing over. And I mean, I can't hate this movie because it does try to add a little bit different to it, but it's just like the same thing we've seen before. So if you're bored and looking for a quick horror movie, I guess throw it on Hulu, but I wouldn't seek it out, and it's definitely not a must watch.
What is it? What is that?
But did Control Freak make your skin crawl? Let me know down in the comments. If you enjoyed this review, don't forget to like and subscribe for more movie reviews. I'll see you later.